Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are connecting. My name is Juan Galvez, and with my colleague Quentin, we will present a little bit more formally later during the session today, but we are really glad to count with you in the first of the HCC technical sessions. We have been running already 2 webinars. We will see the timeline during the presentation today, but we are going to focus today on an introduction, a kind of a demo to the Humanitarian Carbon Calculator. It will be very basic, but a good intro. And with that, we hope also to explain to you which are also all the other components of the package of the Humanitarian Carbon Calculator. And from today, do not expect to be an expert on using the calculator, but we were aiming to make an initial intro. Some of you might have been using the calculator, some others might be new to it, some others you might be thinking of using it. So I think it will be a good intro. Don't be expect to be an expert after that, but there is a lot of resources and support from this package of the Humanitarian Carbon Calculator that the Climate Action Accelerator has been taking over at the beginning of 2026 this year, and this is just only the beginning of future sessions. We are going to wait for a couple of minutes while there are many colleagues and HCC users who are joining the session, and I hope that you are going to enjoy the session today. There will be room for questions and answers. It will be an initial presentation. There will be a practical exercise, short one, but we hope that will be clear on how the tool is structured and the initial steps in order to make the calculations of your organization's footprint.
We will, in this session, we will first provide a quick overview of all these HCC webinar and technical sessions, so you will know what we do next. Then we will explain how the carbon accounting and more in particular the HCC fit in the more global environmental plan. And then we will go deeper into the tool, and we will do a small HCC demo. And after all that, we'll have a Q&A session. So we will open the floor to all your questions and try to answer them our best. And just so you know, this technical session is being recorded and will be available on replay on our website along with the presentation. And please keep your audio and video off at all time, unless during the Q&A session you are on the floor. And to ask a question, you can write them in the Q&A section or raise your hand if you want to say it out loud. And the session, the question part, will be more at the end of the session. You can go to the next slide. So let's start a bit by who we are, like the Climate Action Accelerator. So we are a non-profit initiative based in Geneva, and our mission is to mobilize the high social trust organizations, specifically in the aid and health sectors. And we really aim to scale up climate solutions and within planetary boundaries, and to keep global warming below 2 degrees, and to help organizations having also those goals and taking those goals into action. And our goal for the aid and the health sectors is to pursue ambitious but also realistic target to align with this world below 2 degrees and the Paris Agreement. And we are all aware that this is about really a systemic change, and and not just some like small progress here and there. And finally, to really present like how we build and how the organization is organized right now is like we have three strategic pillars. The first one is to empower, is really to give organizations like the tool and the expertise to act, and so the ATC is part of those tools. And the second one is to champion, is to turn some organizations into ambassadors of change. So you and they can like influence some of their peers or some of the networks. And finally is the community, because we think that to have an impact, we need to have like a global community of action that can share climate solutions, uh, and that can like build a universal common good uh, to really accelerate the deployment of the actions. And so we have a little bit more than 40 partners now across all the world, and these are like high social trust actors, like from some from the humanitarian, some from the health, even some from the higher from the education sectors, and we are really proud to work with all of them. I think that also having some global actors and some local actors, especially some in Bangladesh and some in Western Africa, will help us to understand all the different topics and yeah, that we need to deal with to accelerate the climate action in those sectors. We can go to the next slide. And so today to present to you this technical session, I'm happy to have Juan Galvez with me. Juan is an independent consultant working for the Climate Action Accelerator. He supports us in the support and maintenance of the ATC. And with nearly 20 years at IFRC, during which Juan has led climate and logistics initiatives across Geneva, but also across like regional offices and field missions. And he was one of the pioneers and played a really key role in developing the HCC. And so I am a junior climate analytics officer at the Accelerator, and I'm a digital engineer, like specializing in data science. And I in my everyday work, I help partners to measure emissions, to set targets, and also to track the progress. And I let you the floor, Juan, for the next slide.
So now that we have been presenting who is the Climate Action Accelerator briefly, and two of us, let's jump into the topic of today, which is the demo for this Humanitarian Carbon Calculator. But before touching the tool on itself, which is where many people have been focusing, we wanted to get a little bit kind of from the higher vision, going then down. So a little bit more kind of on the context where the calculator sits on. First, we wanted, as I briefly mentioned at the beginning of the session, there is a series of webinars, this kind of initial demo training and technical sessions that the Accelerator team has been putting together and is putting together through the next months around the calculator. So you can see here, you have the QR code, and you will have later on also the access to the presentation in order to see which are the upcoming sessions. And from the link, if you use the QR code with your phone, you can also register to the upcoming ones, and the previous ones, they will be the videos available in the dedicated website of the Accelerator. I wanted also to bring the attention about what is the package, the whole package of the HCC. So traditionally, everybody has been kind of more thinking on two components, which are the calculator on itself, the emission factor database embedded in the tool. In this Excel file is a free-to-access tool, and the user manual that has been developed around it. However, the Accelerators team is offering a wider package that we are kind of representing with this kind of four kind of different sections. The first one is more about the measuring, and then obviously you have the calculator that we will show later on. You have also the methodology around it. And we will see that as important as using the calculator is how to collect the data, which data to collect. And then the accelerator is setting up the different versioning. I will show you in a couple of slides later on, which is the roadmap for this year, which are kind of the new changes that the calculator will be suffering across the year, and also the ambition to continue and making more user-friendly and more intuitive and dynamic as per your needs in the future. The second will be kind of the understanding, or what we call the user enablement. So we have the user manual, we have training materials that will be developed, this series of webinars and technical sessions that I just been presenting, plus also in the Accelerators website, there are quite a lot of published carbon footprints, which could be kind of a kind of a benchmark in order, or if you don't know how to start at the beginning, kind of a benchmark to follow. Then we have the support and community. We have the Teams channel that if you are interested, we will show you at the end how to get in contact with us and get in contact this community of peers who have been kind of starting measuring footprint in the humanitarian sector. So it's a valuable resource in order to drop questions and get to know how others they are kind of facing most probably similar kind of challenges as when you are starting or doing your carbon footprint. We have also the FAQ document that we have been compiling through the kind of recurrent questions that came during the last couple of years in this user community. And we have individual support sessions that we are launching and that you can book online, and the feedback consultations that we are starting. You will see later a couple of polls during the session today that we are trying to compile feedback from the sector. And the last one, and not less important, is the action. Okay, if you manage to measure, what do you do? Let's get the action out of it. Let's try to reduce. So that's the whole kind of documentation and resource materials about the reduction strategy with all the decarbonization solutions, the published climate and environmental roadmaps, and the toolkits also that the Climate Action Accelerator has been putting together during the last year. So don't think that it's just only about the Excel tool that we will quickly show as a demo today. There is quite a lot of materials and components around it. And Quentin, you're going to also explain quickly how from the narrow picture we are going to go up to the calculator. Please go ahead.
Yeah, we wanted to show you this graph because carbon footprint is like and in itself like it's part of a more global process, and so you can see like the footprint part is the upper branch, and it's going along with like the lower branch, which is really the solution process, how you select a solution, how you adapt it to the organization, how you then set targets which are like ambitious but which are feasible for the organization. So those two processes are really going like simultaneously and together, and then they merge into the final like the two final steps of the path, which are like first the trajectory and the cost modeling, which allow the organization to see really where, if they are able to implement those solutions, where they will be going in terms of emission and where they will be going in terms of cost, like we save some money at some step or not. Like it's and in most of the case, we can see that it's save money each year of the implementation plan. And lastly, but really even more important, the more important step is really the implementation framework, when you are able to follow the action and really to say like the footprint is really part of the beginning of this path, and then going into like how you put the solutions and the action in place, and how you ensure that that's well done. And then if you can go to the next slide, Juan, please. It's how to like to break down a bit this footprinting process into the four main stages, and to show you where is the ATC and what we will be talking about today. So the first step of the footprint is really like to begin by like defining the scope, the boundaries, and really have a first step to have a global view of what you will be doing. And we will have a, a quick look at this step before doing the demo of the HTC, because it's really important to begin by this one, and it can really imply a lot of facilitation then if you do this one correctly. And then the second step is obviously to collect the data you need. And this is really a major topic, and kind of can be like difficult to deal with, and we know it, and so we will do the next technical session specifically on this one, because there's many things to talk about around data. So we didn't want to rush it in this session, but we will do a full session on it next time. Then you can calculate emissions and by using the HTC, and so we will show you how it works with a small demo. Of course, we can't do a full footprint, but we will show you like how it works, and then you are able to do the analysis and to have some results, and to give some input to the target phase and the solution phase, and to build like the overall environmental path with these results. And to go a little bit deeper into this first step, you can go to the next one.
Maybe just make a quick summary. So what we have seen through the user support community is that many of the questions, they are not really on how to use the calculator, the Excel file on the Humanitarian Carbon Calculator, but many of the questions is about how to collect the data. Many users, they find difficulties, which is the methodology, and the very first step is how to define these boundaries. Even how to use the results from the calculator, we will see today kind of with this quick demo kind of the page with the results. Also, organizations, they might be facing many times is, okay, now we have the initial footprint that we have been doing, what do we do next? So that's the whole kind of package about the calculator. And just to remind you, you are not alone. There is a lot of organizations who have been going through. Some of them, they are in the middle, some they are more advanced, some they are starting. So again, let's encourage all of you to reach out through the community or through the individual sessions, and we will try to do our best to help you move forward as fast as possible. Then let me pass back the floor to you, Quentin, with the very first step about the boundaries.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. This first step is really really key and critical, because like everything then will be built on this one. And why does it matter? Because it sets the foundation, and it helps you also to define which emissions, which part of your activity you will include or not, who you will include in the process, how you will choose the methodology. And so, yeah, it's really key, and it's based on three pillars. The first one is the governance, because as for all the transversal projects, because the carbon footprint and more like and the global process is really transversal, you need like a clear governance with a validation committee or something like that to validate each choices and to approve the boundaries, and really be here at all the key steps to be able to go forward and to not having to look back to what you have done. So it's really key to have a clear governance of this. Then it's also key to know which methodology you will be using and to document each choices you are doing, especially when you will, because you will be doing like another footprint in some years, and to really be able to do the not the same one obviously, but a comparable one. It's really useful to really document this. And finally, and most importantly, the outcomes, because it's really important to define your goals and your what you expect as outcomes when you enter this journey, and yeah, because it can like imply some methodological change or some perimeter change. When so yeah, are your goal to just to measure because you want to report, or really to focus on some reduction target, or to focus on procurement? Yeah, it can be like there are multiple answers to this question, but it's really important to ask it from the beginning. So then you adapt what you are doing uh, based on this first answer. And yeah, I let you the floor.
Let's make then a quick stop here on the presentation, and we want to hear from you. So I'm going to launch a poll. I guess that you might be seeing in your screen. It's a quick question. It's a question that we have been launching in the dedicated team channel on the Humanitarian Carbon Calculator, the user support community. And for us at the Accelerator, is quite important to hear from all of you. So if you could quickly kind of select the one or two kind of bottlenecks that when building skills around the Humanitarian Carbon Calculator, you are facing. This input, this feedback from the community to us will help us kind of fine-tuning and building new training materials in the future, or maybe slightly adjust the approach about training on the calculator. So we will give one more minute for that. There are 17 responses already. Okay, kind of half of the participants have been already, so yeah, feel free. If there is some other kind of bottlenecks that you are facing, we would like also to hear from you. So we will leave at the end the email from the team where you can, let me see, here exactly, where you can reach us. So I will leave open on the chat still the question while I move forward quickly before we jump into the demo. Let me just show to you quickly on what is planned for the changes on the Humanitarian Carbon Calculator. We are planning to release this month an update of the emission factor database. However, this before summertime is going to be a light update on the emission factors, is to include the results from the around 12 core relief items. Last year, the Climate Action Accelerator was running product life cycle assessments with the University PFL, a technical university in Lausanne. So we are aiming to include them, and you will be informed via email on this update that should be kind of coming in the coming days. Then during summertime, the Accelerator team is going to work on a full review on the existing emission factor database embedded into the calculator, and this will be released in September. And during the month of September, October, the team is also going to be working on how to integrate the key decarbonization solutions into the tool. Again, we will be keeping you informed via email on all those updates. We have been compiling a mailing list for this purpose. analysis. Where to download the Humanitarian Carbon Calculator? We are almost ready to launch the dedicated web page into the Climate Action Accelerator website. Meanwhile, the site has not been changing. You can continue downloading it from the Climate and Environment Charter, the website. In the future, they will be interlinked. So the new downloads, once we get this new release in June, we will launch the website, the web page under the website of the accelerator. And from now on, the active hyperlink will be there. However, in the charter, there will be still active the web page, kind of interlinking one to the other. So in order for you not to get lost. And then let's start with the demo, what you have been waiting for. So Quentin, before jumping into it, he's going to give an overview of the structure, how is structured the Humanitarian Carbon Calculator, the Excel file. And after this quick intro, then I will start showing you with the Excel file a short, but I hope interesting kind of example.
Thanks, Sean. So the tool is structured around 3 different types of tabs. And so first, the preparation tabs with the general information, the overview, and the emission factors. I will go a little bit deeper in the next slide on this one. They really help you frame the process and the analysis and understand which are the priorities. Second, the calculation tabs, 1 tab per emission category, and this is the core engine of the HCC. And Juan will do like a demo on this one like in some minutes. And third, the more like the outcome tabs, I would say, with the results and the VBI. They help you aggregate all the calculations and display the way you want your total carbon footprint to be able to report or to do some strategic decisions with the results. So preparation first, then calculation, and outcomes come up. And to give some precision on the preparation tabs, you can go on to the next slide. So the general information, it's where you set the macro context of your organization. So for example, you will enter your full-time equivalent. This will help later to normalize emissions per employee to help you understand it. And you will also add your budget and some other like macro indicators. And this matter because raw emission numbers mean something, but they mean really little without context. And so these macro indicators and this input make your data more understandable and more actionable. The second, the overview, is it's a mapping of the emission category, and it works like a priority guide, meaning like it lists all the categories and it gives some priority indicators so you know by where you should start and which categories are typically like the most commonly important. But what is a warning here is like this tool is a generic tool, and this priority list is also a generic priority list, so it's not an absolute truth. Your organization may have a different context or a different strategic priority, and so it helps you to start somewhere, but you can obviously adjust the priority accordingly to your organization. And the third one, the emission factors, this tab will accompany you all along the footprinting journey, and it can be useful to look at it before the next steps, just to understand what is an emission factor, and to view like the different units existing and something like that can be like a good first look to have. And you can go to the next one, please. The calculation method, just to give you like the logic behind the calculation tabs that one will show you just after. To calculate like an emission, it's really like kind of a simple calculation when you really want to calculate one specifically. It's to multiply a data. Data like we call an activity data because it's a data that will represent your activity, and to multiply it by the more appropriate emission factor. And this multiplication allows us to have like the emissions of this activity. And so what the tool, the ETC, allow you to do is to enter your data at the right space, so it can multiply it by the appropriate emission factor and give you the global GHG emissions. And I let you, Juan, for the demo.
Thank you, Quentin. So maybe basically the calculation is quite simple, isn't it, Quentin? The Humanitarian Carbon Calculator, one of the assets is that already includes embedded a database of emission factors that has been curated for the sector. I'm aware that there are quite a lot of specific emission factors not yet there. This is something that the Accelerator team is working on together with many of the different organizations who have been kind of running, for example, product lifecycle analysis and highlighting that we are missing this kind of item or product, release product or service that we are running in the sector and is not in there. But already as a starting point, I think is a good kind of asset. And then you just basically have to collect the data, isn't it, Quentin? But for many organizations, collecting this data can be kind of the difficult component. No? First is where to collect. The calculator kind of guide you already, as per you have been discussing on these priorities. But how to collect the data, it can be difficult, isn't it, Quentin? And that's why the purpose of the next of the technical sessions, that will be the 9th of July, it will be about data collection and the issues and kind of good practices in the sector. Correct me, Quentin, if I'm kind of far from the reality.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and we are here to go through that process. Let me then go quickly into the tool. Let me see if you can see in the screen. I'm going to switch off my camera for a while because I'm going to use two screens, otherwise it will be confusing to see me moving from one to the other. So now it's easier for me. So can you confirm that you can see the calculator on your screen?
Yeah.
So this is the initial,
the
the general. Excellent. And we are going to use the current version that you can download from the dedicated web page on the Climate and Environmental Charter. I've left the link also in the chat for you. And we are going to start with, let me come back to the presentation, with a simple example. It's going to be simple, as I mentioned at the beginning. The purpose of today's session is not to become an expert on how to use it. We wanted to show something that, especially for beginners, can be kind of intuitive to follow, and how the data, once you have been collected, has to be input and how you get the initial results into the calculator. So we are going to go through these preparation tabs that Quentin has been mentioning. We are going to go through the general information. I will also quickly show you the overview throughout the exercise. Out of the calculation tabs, we are going to focus only on two of them. Energy. Let's think of an organization with 3 offices. Okay, it's an imaginary organization with 3 different offices, and they have been able to collect information about the fuel of the vehicle, the fleet of vehicles that they have in these 3 offices, as well as the travel of the staff. So we are going to focus only on the and I will show you the energy and the travel. All the other categories, the structure is similar, and once you collect the data, how to input the data, it will be exactly equivalent to what I'm going to show to you in this energy and travel. And then last, we will see also the outcome, the output of the calculator, the results. There is a tab specifically on the results, and also another one that it was called PBI when developing. It was stating PBI was for Power BI or any other kind of tool. So let's jump into the exercise. Let's think about these three offices. And here in the screen, you see the fictitious data that I'm going to input into the calculator. So the diesel and petrol, about the 5 vehicles in office 1. And then the organization has been calculating and summing up all the kilometers by plane for the staff across 1 year. For the short haul and long haul. The short haul in the calculator is distance is less than 500 kilometers. Middle haul is between 500 and 3,500 kilometers, and over 3,500 is the long haul. Okay, we are not going to go much into the details on how the calculations have been done today. There are other additional kind of tools that can help you, and we can also organize dedicated sessions. There is also a toolkit about travel in the website of the Climate Action Accelerator. Quentin, maybe if you have a minute, maybe you could leave also the link into the chat. So let's start with the tab General Information. On the top, you see kind of the initial context and basic instructions. Also, I think it's important to highlight, together with the calculator, you have the user manual that explains you in detail how to use the Excel. You can download it through the link again that I left into the chat. Is pointing up to the Climate and Environmental Charter webpage. So let's put here in the organization name. We will start like demo HCC organization for today. The inventory year, let's think that it was for last year, that they have been compiling the information for 2025. The currency of the organization, it would be euros. And the number of entities, the number of offices that we have in this example are 3. So I will put 3 here, I click enter. And you see here below that the tool has been already kind of reformatting and is showing only 3 lines in yellow. For the sake of the going faster, I'm going to copy paste here the information from this organization. It has 3 offices, office 1, 2, and 3. This column super entity allows you kind of to aggregate information later on in the reporting. So let's say that office 1 and 2, they belong to continent 1 and office 3 to continent 2. If this is the one of the classifications that this organization was interested in reporting later on, the emissions. The internal number of employees or staff is 30, 23, and 37. And here I have also included the surface of the different offices and the budget for the year 2025. Okay. Now let's go to the tab Energy, because we mentioned that the organization has been compiling the information about the vehicles. So in the tab Energy, I'm going to go to mobile combustion here. Let me see, I will collapse this one and go to here, mobile combustion from operated vehicles. Using columns Q, R, and S, the office 1, 2, and 3 that we have been mentioning. In this case, out of the 7 kind of emission factors under this category and subcategory, I'm going in column M where it says is applicable or not. I'm going to focus only on the diesel and the petrol. So for the rest, I'm going to select no. Same for the other rows. Here, no. And then I'm going to start inputting the data. Again, for the sake of making it faster and have more time for the questions and answers, I'm going to copy and paste. This is the information that we were showing you before in the slide. This is the liters, in this case, of diesel for the Office 1, aggregated for 1 year, the same for the Office 2 and Office 3, and for the petrol that they have been using. And this is the information that they have been, in this case, the organization has been compiling through all the different invoices and ticket receipts from the drivers. This is the data that they have been compiling. About the certainty, is explained well in the user manual. I'm going to put kind of 100% here. Sorry, not in this one because it's not applicable. 1 second. This one is the one that is applicable. I'm going to put 100% because this organization has been making a good effort, and they were able to compile the liters, specifically the liters of fuel. So in this case, we are going to put the 100% on the certainty because it's a number where the organization is quite sure that the liters they are accurate, and has not been kind of making any kind of assumptions. They have been kind of really compiling. So if we go to the overview, okay, I have been compiling the data and putting into the different cells. If we go, sorry, to the overview, you will see here already in row 2, it's a little bit small, sorry, maybe, that the calculator is already doing the calculations. So the input has been kind of the liters of fuel for the different offices, and here is already kind of the total calculation for, in this case, mobile combustion and their energy. If we go to the results, we see here again that there is already the calculations for direct emissions from mobile combustion sources. And well, in this case, for the fuel, there is a component on 1 and 3. I'm not going to go into the technicalities, but the emission factor in this case is split into a part of it goes to the scope 3. Okay, so this was for the energy. Let me go back to the slide I showed to you. So what we have been doing is the first part. Okay, 3 offices and the different liters of diesel and petrol we have been inputting. Now we will move to the travel component. And here again, the organization has been making a calculation. They have been compiling through the tickets of the staff who has been traveling for the last year, and they have been compiling the origin and destination, and through one of the calculators available, we can point out after the session also, if you're interested, we can point out to a few of the calculators that are available using the origin and the destination, in this case the airports or the city of the airports. They have been kind of calculating the distances that the staff has been kind of flying, and they have been putting together and summing up all these distances across all the different people and all the different travels that the different staff have been doing throughout a year. So let's go back to the calculator. In this case, I will move from the tab energy to the tab travel. Okay. And in this case, again, you see the office 1, 2, and 3 in columns Q, R, and S. And I'm going to focus on these ones. Okay, so the rest, in this case, for the time being, it should not be applicable because the organization has not been collecting this information for the time being. Why this is interesting, I'm not going to go too much into the details, but also the calculator will show you an indicator of the completeness, on how much of the data that you were thinking to compile you have been actually inputting into the calculator. And then I'm going to copy paste the information to go a little bit faster. So from here, let me copy paste, otherwise you will be typing one by one. In this case, okay, I have been already kind of inputting, depending, as we have been mentioning, if it was long haul, middle haul, or short haul, all the offices 1, 2, and 3. And this is the information that we have been inputting. In this case, we are going to put kind of 75% because the data has been calculated. We don't know really exactly if this was kind of the distances, but it was a quite good estimation. We are going to put 75%. Okay, so quickly, where are we? We have been kind of inputting the information on the general information on the top left. We have been going through the calculation tabs, the energy and the travel. We have been inputting all the data for this exercise. Now let's take a look on the outputs, on the results of this calculation. Okay, so we go to the tab results. And in here, you see that initially we have the emissions for the mobile combustion and sources. Let me see if I can put a little bit bigger. And now we will see that the 3.6, the business travel and volunteer travel, has been already kind of making the calculations. So through this exercise, we see total emissions of tons of CO2 equivalent of over 1,000. This one you see on the top, and at the bottom you can see, let me go to the left, the breakdown on the different kind of categories in the tool. So the mobile combustion and the business travel here, the breakdown by the different offices, the office 1, 2, and 3. So maybe just quickly to finish on the tab PBI, if you click on data centralization, this button, the calculator is creating this tab with the details of all the data input, all the raw data that we have been including here, the different liters of diesel and petrol for the different offices. And it has been, is including here also the calculations for each of the different entries. The purpose of this tab is if you want to do a more advanced analysis and visualization, it's very easy to copy and paste from this Excel, from this table, into a more specialized external software like Microsoft Power BI or Tableau, for example, and for you to do all this additional analysis from there. I'm going to stop the demo here and let me pass 1 second. Here we are, and let me pass the floor then to Quentin. Just before, maybe I will launch the poll too. No, I think the second poll. Let me quickly go through it. While I launch, feel free to start using the questions and answers in the chat. So we are going to ask you for a quick second question.
While you are doing the poll, Juan, thanks for the questions in the chat. I'm trying to answer them directly in the chat, and some I will take them like out loud. And for example, Juan, you have two questions on the data tab, and on the fact that this can be an option to like automatically distribute to the different sheets. I think that we will perhaps show a little bit more on this data tab on the next technical session, really on data, but perhaps you can say a word on this tab.
Okay, so I have launched the poll, and maybe I will take a look meanwhile into the chat. Sorry, the camera was down. So if you could answer to this quick question. When using, or if you are preparing to use the calculator, which area you think that feels not so clear out of the different components that Quentin has been kind of showing us? So as we have been highlighting, using the tool on itself, once you use the user manual, I mean, it can always be, there is room for improvement on the usability, but it's not the most difficult thing in the world, I would say. From my own experience, when I was working in an organization measuring carbon emissions, it was more about how to collect the data. I have seen also there is a question in the chat about, we should ideally report the liters of fuel, but we don't have the liters. Maybe we only have the expenditure on liters. So this is more about how to collect the data, the methodology, and how to find some proxies or calculations that will help you. Starting to measure your footprint, and ideally little by little in the future also to improve the way an organization is compiling the data. So please answer the poll if you think that the methodology, the data collection, setting the boundaries that the Quentin has been mentioning, or then more about, well, once we have the results, what do we do with them now, this interpretation. Let me see, there are already 20 responses, so we will leave it open for a minute more. And I don't know, Quentin, if you want to maybe tackle any of the questions that might have been.
Yeah, but perhaps
I see that you have been
just,
already replying in the chat.
yeah,
Maybe
some.
those
Perhaps just we can go quickly to the two last slides. I will try to do it quick, so then we will have like a small time for questions and answers. And
So I go.
also I want, yeah, can you move to the next?
This one.
And also I wanted to say to everyone, like, thanks for the question, and you can really send all those questions also in the team channel. We try to answer as fast as we can, and it's really also like a space where some of other like humanitarian actors are, and some of them have really already done like one or two like carbon footprint, and so they can also like help you by telling the experience and so on. So it's a really nice place to have to. Can you go to the we see the HCC on the screen.
Okay, so you go back to the slides, Anton.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. Just to go quickly on to answer this question on how you should start, and I really think that even before like any data calculation or HCC calculation, there are three first critical steps to get right. I repeat a bit myself, so I will go quickly. But the three first steps is really to define your why, to build the committee, and to define the right perimeter. It's like it will be the base of the following collection and calculation. So it's really important to take some time at the beginning to really then don't have to look back at it and really have yeah, your foundation really clear. And can you go to the next slide? So I do quickly those two, and then we can take some questions in the chat. And yeah, lastly on I've seen already some question on data challenges in the chat, and what I can say is like data collection is really like the most tricky part of a carbon footprint, and that's why we decided to do a technical session part specifically on this, and we will tackle like a question as monetary versus activity data, on inflation, on unit mismatch, and I think that I have seen like a question on fuel if you have only like spend data and not the amount the liters of fuel. How are you doing? So we will deal with this topic with even more a more broader topic, which is when your activity and the emission factors you have when the unit don't match how you do, and also about how like you can choose your data sources if you have like multiple possibilities, or if you don't find any possibilities, both case happen. So yeah, those are like the challenges we will try to tackle like in the next session. And And yeah, and so just to go back to the chat, so on okay. So on the question on like the web part, or like how we plan an improve of the HTC, which is for now only in Excel. It's the web part is really an option we want, like the web app or the web solution is really an option we definitely want to go on. It will be difficult to do this year, but it's like in the plan. And the question around like the ERP, we are testing now with IRC and with IFRC how we can like try to integrate some part of the HTC in like the ERP. For now, what I can tell you, it seems a bit difficult to create like a generic tool on how that you will be able to integrate in all your different ERP systems, because they are quite different on the way they are functioning and so on. But yeah, we are trying to test that, and what we will be able to do is at least to create a guide on how you can do it with your like ERP system, and how, like, what are the different steps, what are the different questions you have to have in mind. So yeah, um, I see. I've seen also a question there on the emission factors for certain categories, and can vary a lot from one country to another one. Yeah, it's true. It's like one of the biggest problem with the emission factors that we have today is like it's global, and like most of them are global and generic emission factors. So yeah, what we can say about that is, like, in the full review this summer, we'll try to find for some subjects some more geographically restrained emission factor, like some regional one, for example. And what I can also say to you is emission factors are like important to have, like the global picture at first, but then when you go on to the action, onto the solutions, onto when you try to compare two footprints that you have done, what is really important is more the comparison of the activity data than of the emissions, because it's like something feasible that you can like really yeah uh, understand more easily, and so on. And so uh, even if some of the emission factors are not good enough, and I totally agree with you, that doesn't mean that you can't like just forget this like uncertainty and go to the next one. Emission factor is really an help at the start to understand what are the biggest like hotspots, and to then try to tackle those hotspots.
There was a couple of questions about the data input and the data tab. We didn't show it today, but it is true that in the version HCC Plus that was released a couple of years ago, it was introduced this feature. It's an alternative method of inputting the data. So instead of doing the kind of the manual that I have been showing today, one by one, it was kind of relatively easy. 3 offices and 2 activity data. The problem is when you start having more offices and more categories, inputting the data can be taking some time and is prone to errors. That's why the data tab was introduced. We didn't want to show it today because we felt it's a little bit kind of advanced for an initial demo into the tool. But if you know how to collect the data, usually in the second time that you are using the calculation and you are doing the footprint, then you realize about how to set up your own internal kind of methods of data collection, data cleaning as well many times. And once you have the clear data set, and linking a little bit to the question Quentin has been mentioning about the ERPs, once you get all this information from the ERPs, then yeah, it's relatively easy if you set up and you follow kind of the structure on the data tab, how to put all the information in there. You click the button and the calculator, the Excel file automatically will populate across the different tabs, and it will produce exactly the same results.
Yeah, and finally, so to a last question, Clara, on your question on technical support. Yes, it's possible, and I have your email like in my email box. Sorry, I was like off until yesterday, so I haven't answered it yet. But yeah, how you can have a technical support is basically there are two main ways. First is to ask the question in the Teams channel, and secondly is to contact us directly by email.
I'm now displaying into the also looking at the time that is already the 1 hour that we're setting up for this session. We are leaving there the email I have also put into the chat of the session today. Feel free to drop us an email. As I have been mentioning, Quentin was just mentioning, we have this peer support group through the Teams channel, but also the Accelerator is offering individual support sessions if needed be. So feel free to reach us out, and we will let you know if this is a question that maybe has been kind of already discussed in the community forum. We will link to that one directly, and if you need additional support, we will be happy to have this kind of one-to-one support session. Also, here's the QR code as well if you want to register for the next ones. And maybe just quickly ending, Quentin, maybe you can also highlight there is also the QR code to the toolkit and the different other kind of resources that the Climate Action Accelerator has been compiling from different partners in the humanitarian sector.
Yeah, you will be able to see on the presentation that there are some documents that we have built like to help you also like on carbon footprint, and also if you go to the next slide, some other toolkits, some documents on some specific solutions. The idea is really like to create a hub that you can use to when you have questions, and just to help you like go into climate action and into like more like mitigation and resilience. So feel free to go on the website and to see the different like documents, support documents that we have on it. And so I see the time, and so it's now
you will have the different hyperlinks in the deck of slides that we will be sharing together with the recording of today's session. Let me then thank all of you. You will also have as important as the demo today, I think, is this: you are not alone. You have a support community. You also have the technical support from the accelerators team. Feel free to reach out, and we'll be very happy to accompany you through the journey. We will not be able to do the carbon calculation for you in detail, but I think that the different kind of notches that we can be providing will be kind of very useful and has been appreciated by many organizations who have been already kind of reaching out. Quentin, if there is anything else from your side, otherwise I think we'll be closing the session today. We will be answering any open questions that we might have in the chat, and we didn't have the time today. So we continue the discussions bilaterally after this webinar today ends, and we are looking forward to see you in the next session, which will be the 9th of July.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you very much to everybody, and let me wish you a very nice day ahead.